There you go. Thank you for joining me, Max, on the Martin Talk Show. I'm
Thank you
really
for having me.
excited to speak to you today. We're speaking over Riverside. We're going to live stream this episode as well, if that's okay with you,
Yeah,
in case
totally.
any guests want to come and join in. And as we do so, we're gonna discuss your journey that you're about to take towards the Edinburgh Fringe, and you're
Yeah,
looking to take some magic there this year. So
yeah,
tell me, Max, tell me a little bit about your show, Strangers, which is off to the Edinburgh Fringe.
yeah. So my show Strangers is the culmination of a bunch of material that I've been working on for pretty much the last 3 years, and been touring with that for the last probably two. I did the Edinburgh Fringe last year with a good friend and comedian named Tess Tregellis. We did a show that was part comedy, part magic. She's a comedian, and really learned a lot about Edinburgh. And now going into 2026, I thought it would be time to take the leap and then just do my own solo show. So the show Strangers is primarily a mentalism and mind reading show. It's very interactive with the audience, very much about the audience's thoughts. The structure of the show is the same every night, but the content is different because we're dealing with the audience every single time. Um, and it also, in addition to being a mentalism show, I think is really about what happens when you get a bunch of strangers in a room together and the unique chemistry that you can create with those people at that exact moment. Obviously you're doing the same show every night, and if you saw it repeatedly, you would see the same sort of things, but it really is different with every audience, and that's what I love, and I'm very excited to just run it, whatever that is, 23 times in a row in Edinburgh, and have these different things every time.
How do you even begin to prepare for something like that? That you never quite know what you're going to get, do you? As you enter that room with a different group of people.
You don't. I mean, and it's a lot like comedy where it's like you can still have your prepared material and you can have an idea about how it's going to go. But a lot of what you're doing is figuring out who's in the audience and figuring out who's going to be really good to participate. I have a routine probably two-thirds of the way through the show that really relies on one person being on stage and usually reacting pretty well. And so that's a person I have to pick really carefully, and I'm often looking at people throughout the audience during the show and trying to figure out, oh, who's reacting well to the tricks already? Who do I think would be good on stage? And I'm even doing that at the beginning of the show. A lot of it is tone setting. You want people immediately to be on your side, so that first participant that you use really sets the tone as well. And the interesting thing about magic is that the person you're performing for is very often the conduit for the rest of the audience. So if you as an audience member are amazed, but the person on stage has maybe a blank face, that signals to you that you should have a blank face. But the opposite is also true. If that person is really vibrant, then it opens up the rest of the audience as well. So you're really looking for these people who are going to be good participants. And oftentimes before the show, I'm actually walking around and meeting the audience members and saying hello. And yes, I'm warming myself up to them, but I'm also figuring out who's going to be, the best person to use.
So there's like a two-way thing going on before the show starts. It's the audience getting used to you, but you also getting used to them. That's quite a
Yeah,
unique space to perform in, isn't it? That's something quite different. That's different from other types of performances that you'll find at, say, the Edinburgh Fringe, where actors have their prepared script and they'll go on and they'll just continue to do this repeated thing. Whereas you're
yeah,
going in really assessing the environment. You're really pulling that apart. Is that
yeah.
something that's always important within mentalism and magic?
I think so. I mean, there are some magic tricks that are not always about the magician per se, but they're more visual. So you can sit back and relax as an audience member and watch the magician perform, and something amazing is going to happen. For mentalism, I want people to leave the show knowing that if they weren't there, it would have been a different result, right?
Mm.
And people are making very real choices, like even something as simple as going to someone and saying, hey, think of a city that you've traveled to before, think of an object in your home. That person knows that without them there, the entire trajectory of the show would have been different because we would have been talking to someone else thinking about a different thing. I think that's very important because you see so many shows. I mean, specifically at Edinburgh, right? You're competing with 4,000 shows. People might be going to see six, seven shows a day sometimes. Um, and you want to stand out and you want to be memorable. And I want my audiences to know that this moment is uniquely for them. I really do care about that. Another thing that I do, and we'll see how effective this is at Fringe, but I do this all the time in the United States when I have a much longer pre-show period. Is part of me going around the room, is I meet people and I learn as many of their names as I can and I memorize them, and then during the show I recite the audience's names. Um, it obviously takes some time, so my goal for Edinburgh is to condense it and do as many as I can in the 10-minute pre-show period that I have. Um, but what I like about that too is I'll often open with it. Sometimes I close with it. But when I open with it, it really puts, brings the audience together as well, because now it's like, oh, he knows our names, like he knows who we are, like, and now I can call on people in the middle of the show. I don't have to be like, hey, what's your name? I can be like, Martin, hold on to this, and that brings us together too. So, there's no rule, there's no one way to do it, but for me, I do want us to feel like one unit during the show. It's so important to me that we are all together and safe together. And when people feel comfortable, you can do a lot with them on stage, which is wonderful. So yeah, to me, it's very important.
And so that comfortableness, how do you find that? How do you put your audience at ease? Because I know that's often a thing that I sometimes go into a space and worry about that interaction, and often
Yeah,
feel a little bit like, am I up for this? Is this what I'm here for? Do I really
yeah,
want to be that person that's picked out of the crowd? And there is an uneasiness to us not knowing what's going to happen when we are. So
yeah.
how do you make your audience feel comfortable in that kind of environment, that space?
There's a few ways that I do it. The first is I try and be vulnerable myself. I try and tell, an embarrassing story about myself and do a self-deprecating joke, and make sure that they know that I'm not there to just be like, hey, I'm a master, I'm a god, I'm gonna read your mind, I'm gonna do all this stuff perfectly, and you're just gonna sit and watch while I do it. Like, that's not good. So I try and be as self-deprecating and vulnerable and honest about myself as possible at the very beginning of the show. I have a story at the beginning of the show that's honestly a bit embarrassing, and it's very intentionally placed because I want them to know that, like, hey, I'm gonna let you in as well. I'm not just gonna It's not gonna be one-sided. And then there's also subtle cues, right? I'm really looking and I'm seeing people nodding along and taking my absolute best guess at who would be okay coming on stage. And I'm also very upfront about it. When I sense even the slightest hesitation, I'll say something like, "Hey, totally fine if you don't want to come up. You can just watch. We can go use John over there. Like, it's totally okay." And every once in a while, I mean, it's pretty rare. I would say, you know, I don't know, one out of every 100 performances or something like that, someone might say like, "Oh, I don't want to," and that's totally fine. They could be a reason that I don't know. Like, maybe that person injured their leg and they have a limp, and I never saw that, right? And they don't want to be on stage. There's so many valid reasons why they might not want to do that. So I'm always like, you know what? If you're not gonna have fun up there, I'm not gonna have fun up there. But usually that's pretty rare. Um, and I also, once people are on stage, I always make sure to just compliment them, tell them that they're doing a good job. If I notice they get on stage and they're stressed, I'll even say something like, hey, don't worry if this goes wrong. It's my fault, not your fault. You're doing amazing. Give them a round of applause. So I'm always trying to really highlight them. Like, it is never, ever, ever my intention to embarrass an audience member. They're there to help make the show better. And I make sure that they get celebrated and that they get all the credit. And that's very important to me.
What I'm hearing from you, Max, and I'm seeing this is so true with most of the best performers, is that vulnerability thing that you mentioned. Is that I think that's so important to human connection between the two of us, and I try to bring that into what I do with my connection with people. That I try and
Yeah.
find a place of honesty and truth as best as possible, and yes, I find that as well, that's the place where my guests relax the most,
Yeah.
is when I'm
Definitely.
vulnerable. It offers safety within that, and it offers truth. And with that truth, I wonder. We've talked a lot about technique at the start of this conversation, but truth to mentalism and magic, is there is there truth in magic?
It's such a good question. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. What you're doing is inherently not real. I would never claim that I have magic powers or that I can influence people. I'm sure you know Darren Brown, and he's kind of the pinnacle of this style of performing that he really pioneered at this point a little over 20 years ago. Of, hey, I'm not going to do anything supernatural. We need a psychology, body language, whatever. For me, the truth comes in all the stories that you're telling people and the intentions that you're setting out on stage. I'm not trying to get people to leave and be like, he has actual magic powers, but I am trying to create the illusion of that, right? I'm very okay if people are like, he probably isn't actually psychic, I have no other explanation, right? Because that's the box that you're trying to put the audience in. But I think, and I've talked a lot with my other magician friends about this, and there's a great magician named Ossie Wind who said a lot about this as well. Of you're asking this question, do I believe you? And it's not in the context of do I believe that you actually read my mind. It's like, do I believe your intentions and is what you're saying true? For me, all the stories I'm trying to set up around the tricks that I'm doing are genuinely true. I'm talking about real ways that our brains form memories and real ways that we pay attention to things and real ways that we might try and connect with people. All of that is 100% true. All of that is coming from my life and stories that I might tell in the same way a comedian might do it. It's not as funny, obviously, but it's still honest. And it puts the audience in a very interesting place because when you're saying things that are true on stage, the audience is nodding along, and the audience is like, "Yep, yep, yep, I see you." But that's actually quite deceptive for a magic trick because if the audience is saying yes, then they've fooled themselves, right? And the most powerful story is, of course, the one that we tell ourselves. So I'm trying, even though the mechanics are secret, I'm trying to say every single thing that I'm saying is truthful. Everything I'm saying on stage is honest, mostly. Um, and then the audience feels more connection to you. It's deceptive because they can't really figure out the trick that way, and they believe my intentions. So I think there is a lot of honesty in just the way that you kind of come across on stage.
So what you're saying then is the key to magic is truth, is
I
honesty.
think so. I really do
Yeah,
believe that. I really do
yeah.
believe that. Yeah.
And and I've found that this space in my middle-aged life, I've started to believe in magic again as I've seen it in the real world,
Yeah.
and I often talk about this magic in not necessarily a way of potions and things that we'd see in fantasy stories, but magic in the way of things that the way life can often come together and
Mhm.
the way things can happen at the right time when
Mhm.
you're leading a life on purpose,
Mhm.
and I wonder with that as we do that, as we embrace the magic within our life, does does it make you in any way feel spiritual at all with any of this? Do you feel like that there's anything else going on when you're pursuing magic?
That's a great question. I'm not a very religious person. I do absolutely believe that there's a lot in this world that we can't understand, and there's a lot more than just me. The world is a very large place, and the universe is a very large place. When it comes to a show, like sometimes there is that magic, quote unquote, when you're with an audience and you're like, oh, we have connected immediately, and
Yeah.
that's really nice. And magic is such an interesting word because people usually there's a great magician named Derek Delgadio who has a special on Hulu called In and of Itself, which I'd recommend to anybody. And he said this on a podcast one time where he was like people use magic all the time. That meal was magic. He's a magician on the basketball court, but they don't use that to describe magicians, which I thought is a very good point that he made. But we are always looking for that magic, quote unquote. Like we want that magic with our partner or our friends or in the show. So I believe in that feeling. I really do. And that's what you're trying to give people. Like it's a joyful experience. People don't see magic very often. It's so rare. That's what I've really learned. It's genuinely rare. People go into a show with their expectations quite low, which honestly for me is a good thing because I'm like, great, let's blow it out of the water. Um, but yeah, I don't think we experience it that often. So to have that kind of warm, tingly feeling and also have it in a magic show, I think is wonderful because it's just not that common.
So someone that is you're living magic, Max. You
Yeah.
do it for your career. So have you got any advice to people out there that don't get to have magic in their daily life, how they can embrace it more?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think you gotta, part of it is like a positive attitude, like you were enjoying things. I was talking about this with someone earlier, but it's like when you wake up with a cold, you're like, oh, my throat's sore, that sucks. But when you wake up normal, you're very rarely thinking like, this is awesome, I don't have a sore throat today. But like that is the essence of mindfulness and gratitude. And I think if you can, switch that and it could be waking up and appreciating the day and the sun outside, or when it's not, just the fact that you can walk is an amazing thing, right? The fact that you can breathe. There are some incredible things that we take for granted, and that is a wonderful thing. And that is mindfulness. I think is wonderful. And then additionally, like yeah, go seek out great performances and shows. the magic can come. It doesn't have to be literal magic. Last night, some people and I saw a show that was at Edinburgh last year called Hole. I don't know if you saw that.
No,
Um,
no.
but it was a like breakout show at Fringe last year. They sold out Joe's Pub in New York City, and it was wonderful. I mean, it was amazing to be like, wow. I mean, their first show at Edinburgh was for 3 people, and they just sold out one of the coolest venues in New York. And it was like, that's magic. That's really cool.
Hmm.
So I think you can, if you go seek it consciously, like you will find it. It just is everywhere.
Yeah, wonderful. So, who's inspired you then, Max? You've mentioned a few magicians.
Yeah.
Is there someone that you look to and you go, yeah, that's what I'd like to aim for? What they've achieved within their career and their space, and what they've given to their audience as well. Because you mentioned before, like David Blaine and how big he's become, and the
Hmm.
techniques that he uses, and uh, they leave people with a these magicians like that. They leave people with a sense of wonder, and I
Hmm.
wonder for you then, yeah, who has inspired you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that as stylistically, Darren Brown is a huge inspiration. I've watched pretty much everything he's done, and I think most magicians would agree, he set the standard and defined modern mentalism with, at this point, 8 or 9 different stage shows over the past 20 years. So really an unbelievable influence. I think he's amazing. Derek Delgadio, as I just mentioned, he has an amazing show on Hulu. Set the bar for what a magic show can be. I mean, his is like a kind of genre-defining show. Um, I cannot recommend that enough. There's Ossie Wind, who I mentioned, who is an Israeli magician, has lived in the States for a while. He's amazing at. He just has strong magic. Like he just goes up there, no frills. Like where Darren Brown might have huge stage production, Aussie is super minimalist, and it just is like, hey, we're just gonna do crazy strong magic for an hour. Like it's fantastic. So, um, all of those people are huge inspirations, and then I take it from outside of magic as well. Like Mike Birbiglia is an amazing storyteller. Alex Edelman is an amazing storyteller who worked with Birbiglia as well, and I get inspired by a lot of athletes. I'm a big runner, and I've like dabbled in triathlon, and I follow both of those sports, and I love watching endurance athletes. There's so many amazing people who I'm just so in awe of, and I think every single person has the same overall philosophy, whether you're a performer, an athlete, or whatever. It's like you see these people and just like, we've been doing a high volume of repetitions for decades, and that's how we got really good. Like that's it. We weren't always the best. Sometimes we were the underdog. We just went over and over and over and over again. And that to me is really inspiring in whatever discipline you might be in.
Mm. You mentioned also about the storytelling being important within all
Yeah.
this storytellers, and when I think of the magicians that I've seen, a regular magician at the Edinburgh Fringe that I've seen twice now, um, uh, Adam Bow. Forgot his surname now, but he goes by Adam B, the magician.
Hmm.
But he tells a story during his acts. He takes you on a journey, and I think that helps with the belief as well.
Yeah.
That imaginary place that we go to. So is that something that you also embrace? Is that storytelling within your show?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm trying to even do it a lot more. I just did this tour of the United States in February and the end of or beginning of March, and I'm doing some fringe festivals in the States in May. So now I'm in this kind of 2 month period where I'll probably do the show a few times, but not a ton. And it's good because now I can sit down and rewrite a little bit. And I'm literally like watching the video and transcribing the audio and being like, all right, let's condense, obviously, and let's find more moments for the story. Like, it's still, I always want the magic to come first. I think that's very important. But I also want the audience to walk away and be like, oh, there was all this other stuff. For me, the way to put that in is to be just very conscious about my script and knowing that you can actually do a lot with a very small amount of words as long as you're intentional about those words. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's our overarching structure here, and how can I make the story progress by just throwing in a few lines every couple minutes that are really going to connect it and move it forward. So I think it's important. It makes it unique. Every time you see a show, it should feel so much like that performer's show. It should feel like you can't see that show anywhere else because it came from them. And obviously, the denser you can make it, the better.
Mm. So we haven't touched too much on the mentalism. How separate is mentalism from magic? The lines obviously blur, like with people like you mentioned,
Hmm.
Darren Brown. He blurs the lines there with magic and
Hmm.
mentalism. But
Hmm.
consciously, yeah, I'm not too sure how that actually does actually fit together and work.
Yeah, so from like a literal definition perspective, mentalism is pretty much figuring out what someone's thinking or maybe predicting what they're going to do. Um, there are many variations of this, but it kind of boils down to like you're thinking a thought and I tell you what it is, or I predict what you're going to do. Um, there's obviously a lot of nuance to that. And then magic might be, oh, we're quite literally defying the laws of physics, right? Something changed color or disappeared or transported from there to there. And I do a little bit of magic in the show, couched under the idea of something that's going on in your brain. So it's not as much about like, hey, we're gonna make something disappear. That's just my style. But for me, sometimes an audience member will come up to me after the show and be like, oh, so you're a mentalist. I'm like, yeah, that is the style that I do. It's the same as you meet a chef or something like that, and maybe they just cook Italian food. It doesn't mean they can't do other stuff. So I've never worried too much about the definitions, but I do find that audiences, especially right now, resonate with mind reading. That just is it's a buzzword. People like it, and I do milk that because it's not a lie. That's what you're gonna see in the show. And if it gets people into the room, that's great. I think people, for whatever reason, view it as more sophisticated. Like we have this trope in our head of what a magician is, but a mind reader is this other thing. Um, Ask any magician in the world. Like it's not like they'll see a mentalist or mind reader and be fooled by that. Like if you know magic, you know all the same techniques. Um, but it's just a word that works right now, and it is a style of performance that I really like because the things I've realized I'm drawn to are speaking and storytelling and talking to people, and sometimes mind reading and mentalism feels like more of a conversation with the audience. Like, especially because I know these routines so well, it doesn't always feel like, oh, I need to go manipulate this with my hands. I have to make sure the trick works. I'm like, no, I kind of get to be their guide. I kind of just get to talk and walk them through this little path, and there's going to be some crazy things happening. And when it becomes, it's not a conversation, like I'm on stage the entire time, but when it becomes this communal thing that I'm talking them through, I think it's really nice.
Yeah, and I wonder with you, Max, as you talk about this, and it's very clear that you're very passionate about magic and mentalism, and you're very well versed in it. Oh, I wonder where it all started for you. If this is, if this is something you've always been into to magic and mentalism from a young age, if it's always been part of you, or where did you first discover it?
Yeah, I was 6 years old back home in Denver, Colorado, where I grew up. Uh, my grandmother, Mimi, I don't know if she'll listen to this, but shout out Mimi, took me to this little costume shop in Denver, and they had like a magic counter. And the guy showed me a magic trick. She bought me the trick. You may have seen it before. It's called sponge balls. You take a like little clown nose, put it in one hand, goes to
Yeah, I
the other
remember the
hand,
one.
and I open it up and it's in my hand. It was amazing. And she bought it for me. I mean, it's like $8. And I've said like some of the most consequential $8 she's ever spent. And that started as a hobby, and then now 20 years later, I'm doing it full time. But I was into it from a very young age. But as I got older, I also got into other things. When I was in high school, I was into speech and debate. The specific event that I did called extemporaneous speaking, you had to basically like research a speech and come up with it on the spot, and you weren't memorizing it, but you were memorizing points and you were talking off the top of your head. In hindsight, I'm like, oh, that was so beneficial for magic because I learned to memorize things really quickly, and I learned to be really comfortable memorizing in a short period of time and then presenting and going on, to present and not necessarily knowing exactly where I was going and knowing I'd have to make it up on the spot. And that is performing. Like you're gonna get a curveball every single night, every single night. I mean, I literally did this show on Monday, and it was the end of a, I think, 16 show tour or something like that. And I'd done the tricks a bunch more before that, and still stuff is happening in the show that hasn't happened before, right? Because that's life. Um, and I think I realized, like, oh yeah, from a young age, from my early teens, I was improvising, and not doing like improv, but just improvising your situation. and I think it's really helpful. So, I've been into it for a very long time. I've always loved public speaking, and it's like all these other things in my life too. I've kind of augmented it, and works out quite well now.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've managed to hold on to the play within all of this. That
Yeah,
often we lose that, don't we, as we grow up the play.
we do.
We see so many people that they turn into adults, and the play has been worked out of them as
Yeah,
they get into adult life. And I
yeah,
wonder if there was something within that first magic trick that you discovered that kept something going within you, that having this hobby that started off kept that youthful ambition and play alive.
yeah. I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did. I mean, it. There's a reason that when people see magic, they laugh or they scream, or they shake, or they're just, sometimes it's silent amazement where they just can't think or they can't speak. Any of these reactions are so positive, and they're so rare. They're so rare, and I consider it such a gift that if I do a show on a Wednesday night, I do weeknight shows all the time. People have come from work. They've probably had a relatively predictable day. You know, I don't know, but on average, they probably had a pretty predictable day. And for this time together, we get to say, "Hey, throw that out the window. Like, you're gonna see something surprising." And I don't think we realize how genuinely satisfying that is. And when you start to think about the things that we enjoy in life, it's usually because we don't know how they're going, right? If you're excited to hang out with new people, it's probably because there's so much novelty in the situation that you're excited. If you're going to see a new movie, you don't know where it's going to go. If you're going to try a new restaurant, right? We are addicted to novelty. And it's so rare to have that genuinely get delivered. And so I think that's what keeps me going now, right? Because it's like that spark when you were 6, it's not going to last for 20 years. Like, you're going to have to keep finding it again. And so, I find it because I'm just like, I get to be these people's plans for the night. Like, I consider that a huge honor, and that's a really fun thing.
So a big question for you then Max, and you don't have to answer this one because this one is quite a big one, and I'm going to put you on the spot here. As
Okay.
as we're talking, I'm starting to think. I wonder, can you read my mind? Like, are there techniques that you can bring into your everyday, or is it something that you purely save for the stage?
So I mostly save it for the stage. We can try something right now.
Of course, we're
Over
talking across the
over
pond.
Zoom. Yeah, I
Whereabouts in the
mean,
world are you, Max?
I'm in New York City right now.
You're in New York, and I'm here
Yeah,
in London. So
which is amazing. So a
yeah,
six
so it's
hour
quite
flight.
yeah, so it's quite a long way away, and
It's,
amazing the technology's here to do this. But
it's amazing.
yeah, is there something that could work across a format like this?
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna try something, and we'll see how this goes. So it's interesting because this stuff doesn't happen in a vacuum. But do you have a deck of cards with you?
I'm next to my bookshelf here, and I do have cards here actually.
Could you grab them? And I also have some if you don't. But if you do, we'll
Okay,
try and use yours first.
okay. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Oh, I've just knocked my microphone over in doing that. Bear with me.
No worries. This is just really good misdirection, Martin. So what we'll try first is doing it with your deck of cards. If we need to have a
Okay,
backup, I put mine over there, right on top of the fridge, so people can see, and I can't change it. But we'll do
okay.
yours first. So you have a deck of cards?
I do. I'll take them out of the box. I haven't
Yep.
I haven't opened this box in a very long time. I'm
It's
assuming
quite all
they're
right.
over there.
Yeah, even if they're not, it's okay.
Okay.
But once you take them out of the box, let's just see. We'll see like roughly how many cards there are. It doesn't really have to be perfect, but show them to the camera if you can.
Okay, all shown to the camera. Yeah, all a bit messy. Would you like me to give them an
Lovely.
extra shuffle? They're all pretty
Sure, give them a
shuffled.
shuffle. Yeah,
There's
they
a
look
fair
pretty
bit of them,
shuffled. They look pretty shuffled.
but just in case.
Yeah, just in case, absolutely.
Here we go. Okay.
And we'll do
Right,
it. Yeah,
starting to
show me
shuffle.
one more time that they're all shuffled. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are
Are
great.
you
Those are
happy with
great.
that shuffle?
I love it. So hold them face down in your hands.
Okay, face down. Yeah.
Perfect. Yep. And what you're gonna do is take some of the cards and just cut them down onto your table.
Okay.
wherever that happens to be, and you can keep those off camera. And you're going to take the rest of the cards like this, Martin. You're going to take the rest of them and put them on top of the other ones at a weird angle, so you kind of know where you cut, so it kind of looks like that.
Yep.
But you don't have to show me. All
Okay.
good?
Done. All good.
Cool. So you did that. So now, and again, I'll show you on my side, but I don't want to see anything on your side. So you have something that looks like a T or like a cross almost, right? What I
Across.
want you to
Yeah.
do is, and don't show this to the camera, but you're gonna pick this up, look at the card that you cut to, and remember what it is. Make sense?
Okay. Yep.
Obviously, don't show me.
Okay. Yeah, I know.
All good?
All good.
All right. So we're gonna keep it totally off camera. Of course, you're so far away, across the Atlantic Ocean. So this is going to be a weird question for you, and I guess if there are audio listeners, they won't see us exactly. If there's any video listeners, they will, but I'll narrate what's going on. I'm going to ask you, as weird as this is, to make a facial expression that you think represents the card that you chose, right?
Okay.
So maybe if you choose an ace, you get big, that's a good card, or maybe you chose a 2, you get small, whatever you want to do. I'm not going to judge you. There's no right or wrong way to do this. It's whatever you're feeling. You're going to just kind of do this impulsively. So I'll snap my fingers, and then you'll just make this expression. Ready? Right. Now, go. Okay, interesting. So for anyone who is only hearing over audio, you kind of like raise your eyebrows, turned your head a little bit, which is interesting. You did a fairly jovial facial expression, and oftentimes, if it's a red card, people do a lighter expression. If it's a black card, a darker expression, kind of reflecting the colors on the cards. You had a smile, so this is a red card, and it was a bit loving. This is a heart as well, yes?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, good.
Yeah.
Could you make that expression one more time? Okay, a 9. Okay, this is interesting. Get a little bit higher up. I'm going to take a card out of this deck so you know that I'm fully committed. And I'll tell you what, I want you to close your eyes for a moment. I want you to close your eyes. So
Eyes
on
closed.
camera, I'm showing a card. That way you know if you ever watch it back that I've fully committed before you say anything. We'll see how close we get, though. We'll see how close we get.
Okay. This is
So
good.
I'm fully committed. You can open your eyes. I took it off camera.
Okay.
But you went slightly higher up. You went to the side, so it probably means it's an odd card and not an even card. Yes or no, did you choose the Jack of Hearts?
No way. Can I show the camera?
Please, show the camera.
And this is all through facial expression and body mannerisms.
Kind of wild, right?
Wow. Or mind reading, or magic.
Yeah, you can call it whatever you want to call it. We can try even one more thing, Martin. Because let's say, like, the Jack of Hearts, you can keep it. You can put it back in your deck.
I will keep that. That's important.
It's all yours.
That card. That's mine.
I'm so glad. Yeah, it's yours. Look, the interesting thing, like, this was a random choice, right? You shuffled the cards, and that's where you cut.
100%,
But
yes.
let's say you were to make a conscious choice. If you were to name a card, I'm going to have you say one out loud, but I want you to think about it for a second, because I don't want you to go back later and say, oh, I just put you on the spot, and I made you think of one immediately. Think for a second, so that way, by the time you say it, you can be like, yes, I'm 100% sure that this was a free choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
But whenever you're ready, you can say the card out loud.
8 of clubs.
8 of clubs. So I put that deck of cards on the refrigerator, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, the reason we started with you is that I didn't want you to think, it's 2026. We're obviously could use AI or something. I promise you, we're not. We're doing this live. But
We're live streaming
the
this
entire
as well.
time.
If
We're doing this.
There's a non-edited version out there.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So I'm gonna take this out of the box. Now it's amazing because there's one card that's face down. All the other cards are face up. I mean, that's been there the entire time.
100%.
And did you say the ace of clubs or the 8 of clubs?
8.
8. I'm glad that you did.
Oh, amazing.
You're good at this, Martin. You should also be a magician.
No, you're good at this, Max. You're good at this. What's going on? Have you got a hidden camera in my room?
No, I mean, hey, we wouldn't need a camera to do that. You just said it out loud.
Wow.
But
Max,
it's fun. During the pandemic, I had a whole setup because every magician was doing Zoom shows, which you wouldn't think would work, but was fascinating in that,
I was so worried I would make a mistake on your behalf during that.
You did it expertly.
That I would drop the cards this side and
Nah, you crushed it. You crushed it.
No, you crushed it, Max. You crushed it.
Thank you.
I'm really impressed, and yeah, we started this conversation talking about technique, and and you said that was important to you, but Yeah, you got me believing in magic, Max.
Hey, that's good. That's good.
How important is that to you that people believe in the magic once they leave, that you leave them with a sense of wonder?
Very important. I mean, you have to fool them. That is the basis of what you're doing. And it's like the trick has to work, and mistakes happen and people figure things out. And it's not perfect, right? Like there is a secret, and I know the secret, so it's possible that someone in the audience can figure it out. But the fundamentals of strong magic is that you have good technique, and that is fooling. So that is important. Um, Ideally, when people leave, they don't know how it works, and ideally, it was powerful enough that they try and think about it. Sometimes people will be like, "Oh, we were trying to figure it out after the show. Is that rude?" And I'm like, "No, that means it stuck with you. That means that you cared enough to think about it. Like in theory, you're doing something so crazy that you would talk about it. If I was on the street and someone read my mind, like I would turn that over in my head." Um, I think the thing, even Steve Martin talks about this, or sorry, he does, I think, but the one thing I'm thinking of is actually Stephen King, the author. Um, and he's like, you're going for resonance, like you're trying to resonate with people. And magicians are trying to do that too. Any artist should be trying to resonate. You should be thinking about it afterwards. And so, yes, it's about fooling them. That's the fundamental basis of what you're doing. That's the same logic as a chef's food needs to taste good. But it also can have all the other stuff too, right? It can be a good experience. It can be plated well, and so yeah, you're trying to fool people. You're trying to leave them with wonder. You're trying to make them turn it over in their head, and you're trying to beat them over the head with magic. It's an important thing.
It is. It really is important, Max, and I've really felt that magic today. Um,
I'm so glad.
I want to I want to do a bit of magic with you now that I often do on the podcast. I
Yeah,
see this as magic that we can actually we often time travel on this podcast,
good.
and I often feel a sense of wonder when I do this with my guests that I give you the opportunity to dial in on this moment and go somewhere back to your past, a piece of magic perhaps that you were doing at some point in your life that you'd like to revisit. Is there somewhere that you would go in particular?
But like the thing that I was performing that I want to revisit.
Somewhere that you would want to go back to, yeah.
Yeah, when I was 19, I did a magic show with my friend Scotty back in Denver, Colorado, and it was really the first time that we tried to like sell tickets to a public show. Um, that part came pretty easily because we hadn't done it, so it was like everyone who had wanted to see us perform in Denver, where we were from, had a chance to do that, and so we'd sold a bunch of tickets. But the part for me that was interesting was I wasn't performing that often. Like now, in my professional life, I perform, 150 times a year. Back then, I performed like 5 times a year, right? So we treated this performance so seriously and rehearsed every single day and were so meticulous about it. Um, and I really loved that. Look, that's not the way to go. Like, you should get a lot of reps. You shouldn't just do one show. Like, you're not going to learn a lot from one show. You're putting all your eggs in one basket. But what a funny time that I probably will never return to as long as this remains my career because, now it's like, oh, I'll do a couple shows a week. But back then it was like, I'm going to prepare for 2.5 months or whatever for one show. And there's a joy in that when I look back on my 19-year-old self of kind of how silly it all was and how much pressure I put on one show, but how well we prepared for it because that was all that we had. And I think that was a really formative moment for me, of like, oh, preparing works. You don't always have to do 2.5 months for one show. You can prepare through other shows and get other reps, but like what a fun concentrated time where like the only thing we cared about was just nailing that one show.
So how did that feel different than to what you're experiencing now then? What did that feel like in that moment?
I don't remember feeling as comfortable on stage because I didn't do it as much. Like we prepared pretty well, but I mean, there is such a huge difference between rehearsal and performance. It's just not remotely the same thing. And the audience is a living, breathing body, and they will change the trajectory of the show. You don't know how they're going to respond, and there's stuff that you cannot prepare for unless you've done it. You practice and they come on stage, but in real life, they get up and they knock something over, and it takes them an extra minute to come on stage. You have to fill that dead time, and that's happening for every single trick, and you're learning the things that you have to explain and not. I mean, and it's an interactive show, and you'd be surprised by the amount of friction and dead time that can be created by just a bad explanation of something on my part. So, you know, nowadays it's like, oh, it feels good that I'm getting all this rehearsal through performance, and I still rehearse obviously, but you try something and you tweak and you go from there. And at that point, I was like, well, I hope this show goes well because you gotta just nail it. But I remember not feeling super comfortable on stage. I remember, it's fine, we did it, but like you can't really prepare for how that feels. You can just do it enough times and eventually it gets comfortable. Nowadays, I feel super comfortable on stage, which is awesome. But back then, doing a couple shows a year, like you're not gonna be as grounded.
I think there's something beautiful for us in life when we do that, when we step outside of our comfort zone.
Yeah,
That it changes us when we do that,
yeah,
when we go into that space that we haven't been in before. And I
totally.
guess that can be a challenge for us as we do step outside of our comfort zone and find the new thing to continue to do that. That can sometimes be quite difficult.
Yeah,
Now, I wonder, Max, is there any advice that you would give to your 19-year-old self at that point? Is there anything that you would like to say?
yeah. I mean, I'd say the same thing to anyone. I think, which is just like it's so simple. Like, just go do the thing. I almost think our world is oversaturated with advice on how to do whatever. And I'm like, but you look at anyone successful and they just did it. You look at a successful runner, what did they do? They went on runs a lot. You look at a successful comedian, what did they do? They went to an open mic every night of the week. You look at a successful writer, and what did they do? They wrote every day. Like, it's that simple. Like, if you want to do the thing, stop worrying about optimizing everything. Stop worrying about being perfect. Stop worrying about being an expert, and just get out there and do it. Like, I perform all the time. That's it. Like, you get critiques and you have people who are friends with you who help you out and you build your community, and there's obviously a lot of specifics, but like the thing I would say to my 19-year-old self is like, luckily what I did end up doing, which is just like go perform as much as humanly possible, and once you do that you will get a lot better. Like my first couple months in New York, once I moved to New York to do magic full time, I wasn't doing that well. I was doing fine, I was passable, but the shows were not great and they were not in my control. um, and the more I did it, the more I was in my control, and the more that I could expect things to happen. Um, I think an interesting analogy is like when you look at sports, like I've heard about like a good team goes out and they hope to win the game. A great team goes out, they expect to win the game. And when I was a young performer, I hoped that the show would go well, and now I expect it to go well because I'm in more control. But again, all of that comes from reps. Like the only thing I would say is just go get as many reps as you can.
We learn through the process, don't we?
It's the only way. It's the
If
only way.
we can study and we can analyze and we can watch and we can listen, but it's in the doing is where we grow.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm sure you've become a better interviewer the more that you've done it, right?
Something's definitely changing. Something, it's quite cringy looking back on those early
Yeah, exactly,
stages of
exactly.
it. I quite like that I can actually look back if I want to because it's all recorded. But then I
Yeah,
think there's
totally.
also some beauty in what you're doing, that there's space for it to also, as we do it disappears with the live audience, and it goes off, and
Yeah,
we can keep moving forward. So
yeah,
then,
it's nice.
as we stay in the time machine, then, and we've got the opportunity to now move forward. What are your hopes and dreams for the future then?
Um, for 2026, my goal has always been like let's nail Edinburgh. Like everything I'm doing is with that lens, and that's why I'm doing as many public shows as possible. In the States, I'm doing San Diego Fringe, Denver Fringe, and Hollywood Fringe to prepare myself for Edinburgh, which will be great because I've done the show a bunch on tour, but in a tour environment where, I go into that venue, I'm that venue's only show of the night, I have time to tech, whatever. Doing the specific Fringe circuit in the months before Fringe is going to be a perfect lead up of let's nail the logistics. How do I load in and how do I load out? How do I network with people? All this stuff that is so vital in Edinburgh. It'll be really nice that I'm getting all these little trial runs in the States. I think that's so important for anything you do, is like be as comfortable as you can. Some people go into Edinburgh with a work in progress. This is not going to be a work in progress. It's going to get better while I'm at Fringe, obviously, but I will have done it a lot of times prior to that. So for 2026 up until August, the goal is Edinburgh Fringe. Afterwards, I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do I come out of this and then capitalize on it, right? The show I'm already happy with. I already think it's quite strong. I think it's going to be significantly better after Fringe. And now I'm like, all right, do I go tour again? Do I go do a big blowout show in New York? Right now, I'm looking at like, okay, how do I upgrade my New York venues? I'm looking at venues right now of like, what's a clear step up for me? And can I get that in November? Can I get that in January, February, March? I've really tried to have a lot of patience with my own career. I believe that like things will happen when you're ready. Like, and but you also have to be a little bit ambitious, right? So
Of course.
for me,
I
one
think I
venue
think
I'm
that ambition is what drives us through this, doesn't
yeah,
it? Having that it sounds to me like Max, you've got a dream.
yeah, totally. And just to do a lot of shows. Like it's funny because a lot of people are like, "Oh, is your goal Vegas?" I'm like, genuinely no. My goal right now is New York and these festival circuits. Like, Vegas is a big audience for a bunch of tourists, and there's nothing wrong with that. There are people who have phenomenal careers doing that, but it's not my style of performance. I like smaller venues. I like the fringe circuit. I like the New York scene of, Joe's Pub or the Bell House that are these, 300 seat theaters that have the really loyal following. I love that. Um, and also Magic, for me, for my style, is good in a slightly smaller room. For me, it's like, can I take this show, make it as good as possible in August, capitalize on that a little bit afterwards, and then I think eventually I would love to film the show and put that out, even if just on YouTube, just to be like, hey, I made a thing, here it is. But I'm not ready to get rid of that yet. I think the show still needs a lot of development, but that's how I kind of view my next year or so.
Wonderful. Well, I look forward to seeing your show at the Edinburgh Fringe, Max.
Yeah, I look forward to
I
meeting
will.
in person. It'll be great.
Yeah, I'll be there as well with the podcast. So
Amazing.
we'll definitely catch up again, and I
Yeah.
really look forward to being amazed by you once more, as I have been today. And not just by the magic, Max, but through this conversation as well. It's been a real joy speaking to you. I truly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
No, that's okay. Now, I've got one last question for you that I'm now asking all my guests. That's
Yeah.
slightly off topic, but it's more of a human question, and it's something that I feel is relevant for all of us, and it's quite a big one, so we might not even have the answer. But I wonder how you would make this a better world.
Yeah, that's a huge question. I mean, I think on a day-to-day granular level. I mean, there's the obvious answers of like you can go start a charity and you can go cure cancer, get everyone clean water. But what I'm capable of doing on a day-to-day basis, I'm like, I think I can do my job well. And I'm really lucky that I have a very public-facing job where I get to interact with a lot of people. And I interact with a lot of people in the corporate world. If I do a corporate show, or I just, even people coming to see my show probably have like a corporate job or something like that, where it is boring or predictable or not always depressing, but it could be. And all I know is that when people come to see my show, I get an hour with them and I can make their day better. Like I know if I can do my job, I will elicit joy and smiles and surprise and laughter, and I think that legitimately makes it better. I think art does make the world a better place. It's not a cure for cancer. It's not giving someone clean water in a village, but on a small granular level, it is making their day better. And it's like obviously we all want to contribute on a macro scale and there's amazing things that we can do. But for me on a micro day-to-day tangible level, it's like if I do my job well, if I do what I do with care and precision and I honor my own work, then it will tangibly impact people and give them a better day, and I'm happy that I can do that.
Mm, that's wonderful, Max. And I don't think we should underestimate the power of art and creativity and magic and wonder within all of our lives. Like you say, it's not curing cancer, but what is this life? What are we curing the cancer for if it's not
Yeah.
for these things?
Yeah. No, it's so true. I feel, this is the work that I'm good at, and I'm so glad we have great doctors and we have great lawyers and we have people who are so good at what they do in their fields, but I'm like for whatever reason, I'm good at doing magic and I will do that to the absolute best of my ability because I see the photos and I see the videos of people at a show and they're genuinely smiling and I'm like, if we can make your day tangibly better, that's a gift. That's an amazing thing. I feel honored to be able to give that to people. I love it when someone gives that to me, and you know, we can all contribute to the world in the way that we're the most suited to do. And I think right now that is what I'm suited to do, is hopefully to make people's day a little better.
Wonderful. Well, you have done mine today, Max. I appreciate it. Thanks
I'm
again
so
for
glad.
sharing.
Thank you
And
for having me. It's been an honor.
just one last time, Max. Where can we find you if we'd like to find out more about your Edinburgh Fringe show, or just you in general? Maybe if we're in New York, where do we seek you out?
Yeah. So my Instagram is Max Davidson Magic. My website is maxdavidsonmagic.com. On my website, I have all my live shows, all the tickets to my live shows. They're always there. Edinburgh's already on sale. In Edinburgh, I'll be at Just the Tonic at the Subway on Cowgate Road at 5:40 p.m. every night. So that's where you'll be able to find me across the pond in August. But Max Davidson Magic on Instagram, and my website is where you can find any other videos and connections.
Wonderful, thank you. And I'll be sure to add links in the comments below.
Amazing.
Thanks again, Max. And if
Thank you.
anyone has been watching or listening, we appreciate you for joining us. Thank you.